As men, we hold a spiritual weight that demands directional intent. When culture tries to define what manhood is, it's our responsibility to reclaim who God has called us to be. At 5-StarMan, we've designed a 45-day challenge to help transform you physically, mentally, intellectually, emotionally, financially, and yes, spiritually. It will move us from passivity to purpose, from weakness to strength. Sign up for the 45-day challenge today.
There is a gravitational pull for man to remain grounded on this earth. Yet, there is also an adventurous spirit within that propels him to reach beyond. To reach new heights, a man must become wiser. Spiritually empowered, man must become stronger. Man was not made for the earth. The earth was made for man. Intended not as an anchor, but as a launching pad into his God-given potential.
3, 2, Roger Tower, 1.
To become the man intended for the heavens.
Lift off.
Hey guys, welcome to 5-StarMan Champions live stream. I'm your host, Neil Kennedy. I'm glad that you are here. It's great to see you. Good to see names popping up that are here every week. I thank God for you. It's awesome. All of our partners, we're glad that you're here, excited about tonight and what God is doing in the lives of men. It's really overwhelming, to be honest with you, some of the things that are happening. I was just at Spring Creek Church in Edmond, Oklahoma. We had an incredible Saturday. The men actually drove down to the Gulf of America, picked up shrimp straight off the boat, brought it back up to Oklahoma City, Edmond area, and had cooked that shrimp. It was like, being back in Mobile, Alabama again, but it was phenomenal. We had a great turnout. We had 31 men get into the altar and break acceptable addictions. Some of you have heard me speak about that kind of thing. And so it was just a great turnout, maxed out. It was awesome. Well, yesterday we had 8 people saved in the Sunday services. In the second service, I don't know what the count was on the first service, but it was very powerful and excited about it. Hey, make sure that you have your field guide. We email these out. We hope that you have this available. So we email this out. If you've signed up for 5-StarMan with the 45-day challenge, you get the Daily Champion. You should be getting that email as well. So we send that out to you. I'm going to be at Faith Worship Center in Bardstown, Kentucky, here in May 16th and 17th. We're going to be having a great weekend there, a 5-StarMan encounter. I'm going to be in Germantown, Wisconsin, actually just during the week of next week for a couple of days, doing some teaching up there. Going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. Have several things happening coming up. And so excited about that. Be praying with me about tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Actually, one of the largest churches in America is launching the 45-day challenge. And we delivered 750 books to them last week. And it's just going to be incredible. Be praying with us about that. And tonight's teaching, I'm talking about be fruitful, the command and blessed to increase. Really, it's the first words, the first command with a blessing. And we're going to be talking about that tonight, getting into talking about entrepreneurship. And so get the field guide out. What I did was I went ahead and wrote a couple articles in relationship as my thoughts were really developing this message. I went ahead and wrote a couple articles. So if you go to FivestarMan.com, I really recommend that you do that. Go to FivestarMan.com. And if you'll look on the menu at Field Guide, we have hundreds, about 160, 170 articles that I've written. And the articles are there, and they help teach and explain more of what I'm talking about. So help yourself to that. All right, let's get into the word tonight. And before I do, I want to encourage you to help support what we're developing with 5-Star Man Global. I had a church, met with a church last week. They're adopting us, putting us on their missions account, and we're thankful for that. We're getting languages that are being covered, and I just thank God for all of this work. We're just about ready for the curriculum to be translated. I've been working hard on the curriculum, and we got a little bit more work, probably 2-3 more weeks, and then we're going to start doing the translations. So be praying with me about that. All right, let's get into this. Tonight, I'm talking about being fruitful. And it's really amazing how important this is in today's time, because we're living in a time when economics is constantly being debated. And I kind of want to zero in on this because we're talking about entrepreneurship. It's God's original intent in speaking the word be fruitful was to release his DNA of increase into humanity, into manhood. From the very first moments of creation and the very first words of creation, God speaks over man, be fruitful and increase. Now think about that. These are first words. I have a new grandbaby coming here in just a few days. So I'm always thinking about my first words that I will speak over my new grandbaby. This will be my 9th grandchild. I already know her name, and I'm going to speak my first words over my new grandbaby. And you think about what God did and the very first words, because his words are life. His word is the source of life. And think about his first words that he's going to speak over mankind. Before sin, before the fall, before any instruction, God looked at Adam. At this moment, Adam is male and female. He hasn't extracted out of man the female portion yet. And he declares his highest vision for man at that moment. Think about this, because you need to understand this. He is about to declare his highest vision for you. And that is multiplied life. It's overflowing productivity. It's generative. It's generative dominion. I think about this. To be generative is to have the power to create. So if you're generative, there's talk about generative AI, and it means that generative AI has the power to create, to have ideas. Think about that. We are getting to a point of artificial intelligence, that artificial intelligence is the first replication of creation that can create. Man is the original generative leadership on the earth. So what God does is he puts his DNA of increase. He puts his DNA of creation within him. So therefore, man can have offspring like his creator. See, all of the other animals can have offspring, but man is the first of creation including the Elohim that God creates. Now think about this. Including the Elohim to have offspring. So the purpose of this command is that every man is to call every man out of barrenness, out of consumption, out of small living into explosive fruitfulness. It's the foundation of blessing. It's mandate that defines man's purpose on the earth. Are you getting anything out of this yet? I know I'm just getting started, but let's look at this. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth, subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. So God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, increase. Now, let me break this down just from a moment from the Hebrew, because it's so important. Because to be fruitful, it literally means, because God is speaking to man as a seed. Now, Genesis 11 or verse 1 or chapter 1, verse 11 says that God created seed to produce after its own kind. So seed cannot produce anything other than it is. Seed cannot evolve. Seed cannot transition. Seed must produce what it is. That's why a farmer is never surprised. If he plants corn, he's going to reap corn. If he plants wheat, he's going to reap wheat. Barley, whatever he plants, he's going to reap. God is not mocked. A man will reap what he sows. This first foundational precept gives you victory over evolutionary thought. It gives you victory over identity, delusion. See, this is what's happening in our confused culture today, is because there's identity confusion because they don't understand the principle and the law of seed. So God creates seed and he says, man, you have seed within you. Now I command you the blessing to be fruitful. It means that you're going to bear fruit. It means that you're going to grow. It means that you're going to have increase. You're going to branch out. You're going to be productive. The word picture in the Hebrew is the mouth that opens and scatters seed. And what does that mean? The mouth that opens and scatters seed. Luke chapter 8, verse 11, Jesus said that the seed is the word of God. To understand this, if you can look at a seed, then you can understand how words work. Are you grabbing this? See, if you understand the law of seed, if you understand seed, you'll understand how words work. That's why you can't speak down and dismiss your wife and expect her to live up to her potential and bear godly fruit. You can't speak down to a child and expect them to fulfill their purpose and vision. Your words are like seeds, and as a husband, you have husbandry as a skill. So you've got the mouth that opens and scatters seed. You have the head of the grain, which has the potential. Do you know what? When you're holding a seed, you're literally holding the future. A seed is a prophecy. A seed is a prophecy. When you sow the seed, you are prophesying to the future. Are you getting this? Now, this word picture ends with what's revealed. So it's pei, resh, hey. That's the Hebrew for the word fruit. Pei, resh, hey. Pei, resh, hey. So hey is what is revealed or shown forth. So you open your mouth, you have the head of the grain, then you have what comes forth. Are you seeing this? So it's a head of a grain cracking open, releasing the multiplied seed, and fruitfulness is not passive. It is a violent release of life and potential that has been locked inside. So what happens is this seed bursts forth. The seed bursts forth. That's why sometimes when you're speaking a command, what are you going to do? You're going to raise your voice. You're going to intensify. You're going to tighten up, and then you're going to express. That's what seed does. That's what seed does. It bursts forth. It's a violent bursting to release its potential. That's why when the seed of man encounters the egg of a woman, what happens? There's a bursting of light. Are you grabbing this? So the principle tonight is fruitfulness is the original, authentic masculinity that calls us to generative leadership. Again, leadership that has the power to create content, ideas, or even offspring. It is the opposite of consumption, passivity, distraction, and self-focus. So what you're seeing in today's culture is a consuming culture, a passive culture, a distracted culture. Some of you know that I walk every morning. I'm walking every day, evening or morning, and I 5.5 miles. Today, when I was walking near one of the main streets, cars were lined up at a red light, and I counted 10 cars. Eight of the 10 were looking at their phones. 8 of the 10 people driving the cars were looking at their phones at the red light. We're living in a distracted culture. We're not allowing ourselves to have generative thoughts and leadership in our own brain because we're allowing artificial thinking to overtake us. Authentic manhood produces, it multiplies. One of the greatest concerns I have with artificial intelligence is that it will replace the creative thinking that God has put within us. That's the real threat. That's the real threat. God does not bless barrenness. That's why every woman in Scripture that could not produce offspring felt as if she was cursed. That's why women like Hannah, that's why Sarah was constantly praying and asking God to give them an offspring, to give them a child, because they felt as if their life was meaningless unless they were able to carry the reproduction of this word to be fruitful and increase. And yet now we have a culture that celebrates barrenness. They even want to propagate infanticide, celebrate infanticide. It's the anti-man spirit. Because the very first words of man over God over you, the very first words that God spoke over you, because his words are eternal, is to be fruitful and increase. Now, you can take this because you were created with seed inside you, and the command to be fruitful is God's instruction to crack open the seed, scatter it, and watch it multiply and life spring up. Listen to me carefully. As an entrepreneur, you are designed to increase, to get up in the morning. The proverb says the laborer's appetite works for you. It drives you to work. You are designed to get up in the morning, leave the cave, go kill, bring it home, celebrate it with your family, and eat. You know, every once in a while, you should bring your checking. I don't know if you probably don't get a payroll check or anymore, but you need to show somehow. Actually, you could do it this way. You could take the tithe of your increase and gather your family around and say, we're going to worship God with the tithe because God blessed us so much that we're going to honor the Lord with this. And that let your family celebrate with you that you left the cave, killed, and you brought something home. Okay, I've got to give you these practical steps. Number one, you need to identify your seed. You need to identify your seed. What has God planted in you? I live with this conviction that when I meet a man, I know for a fact that God put a potential in that man, a gift in that man. And I want to know if he's discovered that. I love speaking to young men and encouraging them to understand that God placed within you a gift, a skill, an ability. There's a young man, Jordan, on American Idol right now. He's on a worship team in Azeel Church in Nashville, Tennessee, and I spoke there a few months ago. And at the end of the service, I spoke a blessing over the worship team, and I laid my hand on Jordan, and I said, Jordan, you are gifted. Stir that up. Now, he jokingly told my son, he said, I think your dad gave me a compliment. And he told him what I said. But listen to me. If you're watching American Idol, you need to vote for Jordan. Do it multiple times. But listen to me. When I saw Jordan, I spoke a word over him because he's gifted. And now millions of people are hearing his worship on American Idol. So identify your seed. Number two, crack it open. Crack it open. In other words, stop protecting and hiding your potential. You cannot passively prosper. In other words, you've got to get up and go to work. Every dream requires work boots. Number three, cultivate daily. Cultivate daily. Create systems and habits that produce increase. Discipline in your marriage, in your fatherhood, in your business, in your health, in your walk with God. That's what I know that I've harped on this, but it's literally changed my life. June 16th of last year, I was sitting down in that chair behind me, and I just felt prompted. Neil, you tell people every day to turn your daily commute into communion. Go put your shorts on and walk. So I went, put my shorts on, and I walked for 5 miles. The first 2 weeks was so difficult. But then something shifted in my body. I went to a doctor and talked about my health, and I said, okay, I want to get some things dialed in here. And I got on a a healthy regiment. And I'm telling you, I'm down to a 32 waist. I've dropped 68 pounds. And I'm telling you that not for vanity. I'm telling you that because it's part of my vision. I just recently redid my life insurance, and I have dropped my premium by 2/3. All of my numbers are off the charts. What made the difference is the consistency. I'm seeing Derek Drawn pop on here, and I know he's walking every day, and you can literally see the transformation in his face when I see you, Derek. It's just incredible. Others start walking. All right, number 4, measure by fruit, not just by activity. Measure by fruit, not just by activity. Activity is having motion without progress. Never confuse activity with progress. Ask, what is multiplying because of my life? What is multiplying? And then finally, extend dominion. Now, I didn't say domination. God gave man dominion over the earth, not domination. Extend dominion. In other words, Adam's original assignment was to take the seed of the garden, leave the gate, and extend the garden and completely cover the earth with the seed of the garden. That was God's original vocation, divine calling on Adam, was to take the garden and extend it around the earth. Do you know that that is exactly what Jesus will do? Do you know that Jesus said that there's going to be a new earth? Do you know that the Bible indicates that you and I are not going to be living in heaven? We are going to be living on the new earth. We will have access to heaven. We will certainly go and come from heaven, but our residence will be a new earth, and it will fulfill the original intent that God had for man. Likewise, you are to take the seed that God has given you. He gives seed to the sower, and extend it into every sphere of your life. What do you need? You need to subdue chaos. You need to put things in order. You need to rule with righteousness. You need to have fruitful leadership. So here's your action steps. I've got 3 minutes. Here's your action steps for this week. Action steps. Write down 3 areas where you need to shift from consuming to producing. This could be as simple as, okay, if you're not saving money, this could be as simple as saying, okay, this week I'm starting to save $20. Just start with 20. And see how easy it is, and lock it away, and then see if you can increase that. Number 2, take one specific step of obedience in each area. So write down 3 areas that you need to shift your mindset on from a consumer to a producer, and take one specific step in obedience to each area. Number 3, share with another man who will walk in agreement. I actually wrote something here that I never do. I don't know why I did this. It slipped right past me. You guys can bust me on this one, because on number 3 on your field guide, cross out. I'm going to do that right now. Cross out, hold accountable, because we don't hold each other accountable. We walk in agreement. So I'm scratching that out. And we do not hold each other accountable. we walk in agreement. Man, I don't know how that one got past me. I don't know how. Oh my goodness. Cross it out. Get rid of it. We're not going to hold each other accountable. We are walking in agreement. Amen. You guys are going to bust me on this one. I know it. I know it. I know it. But you'll never forget this moment. You're going to bust me on this one. You can tell how embarrassed I am, because I just absolutely, we do not hold each other accountable. No man that ever asked me to hold him accountable continued to take my phone calls. Every man blocked me. I lost relationships over men saying, hey, I want you to hold me accountable. No, they don't. They don't want you to hold them accountable. All right. Well, you guys, you get to laugh at me on this one. So God bless you. I'll see you next time. Appreciate you guys.